people of Continental Airlines are putting their world together again. And in a few short months, they've made aviation industry history. Theirs is a fascinating story. As 1994 drew to a close, it looked as if Continental might do the same. Continental's cash balance was dangerously low, and stock prices had plummeted. There seemed little hope for the once proud airline, because stock prices are the unarguable yardstick of investor and public faith in a company's future.
But we didn't give up. We just couldn't. We needed a focused plan to turn the situation around, and we got it. As we improved, our stock increased in value over 400%. The public's faith in us was restored.
Let's take a look at what's happened in the past 6 to 8 months and see if we can't decide how fast this company is changing. Take a look outside at our airports today and see one color airplane, first time in probably 7 or 8 years that this airline actually looks altogether the same. And if you got on that airplane, you'd see it all has the same interior colors and the same first and coach configuration. Another big change that I'm really proud of is the on-time performance that we demonstrated earlier this year when we started working together as a team. We've shown the rest of the world that when we want to work together, we can, in fact, be #1 in any month we choose to. We also showed them that when we don't want to, we won't be, but at least now it's our choice and not just by default are we in last place. The biggest thing is the news that you're going to get today, and hopefully read in the paper before you see this, is that we actually made a profit for the first time in the first half of the year. That's this year, for the first time in 10 years. And that's a big change for us because we have demonstrated our competency operationally, and now we're demonstrating financially, and certainly we're demonstrating it on a daily basis that we can look and act professionally. So I'm real excited about the changes, and I hope you are too.
The impressive changes at Continental, the changes that began a rapid healing of the company's many ills, all rise from joint employee and management involvement in an appropriately named no-nonsense plan. The Go Forward Plan, a plan built on 4 solid cornerstones: fly to win, fund the future, make reliability a reality, and working together. Fly to win. At its simplest, it means stop doing things that lose money.
We eliminated much of our light linear flying and increased pricing to fit the market. We've reworked our Newark, Houston, and Cleveland hubs to put capacity back in line with market demand. And we've eliminated costs that don't add value, for instance, by beginning to standardize our fleet through the elimination of A300s.
We've stopped alienating travel agents, first by bringing back incentive programs, and then by restoring one-pass elite benefits to previous award-winning levels. We've restored first class and meal service on flights over 90 minutes. All this went a long way toward mending our relations with a support group we need on our side. Hal Rosenbluth, president of Rosenbluth International, one of the largest travel agent systems in the world, said this: "I believe that Continental is making the right moves to become a profitable and successful carrier. Not only is the travel industry and Wall Street taking note of these significant changes, you can be assured that our mutual customers are taking note as well."
Getting unprofitable flights and unnecessary price cuts off our back while expanding profitable service and improving relations with travel agents, well, those kinds of necessary improvements make it possible for us to fly to win.
Fund the future. Through astute business negotiations, Continental enhanced liquidity and assured itself adequate operating capital.
Delivery of new aircraft was either pushed back, canceled, or the orders switched to purchase planes we need and can operate profitably. At Denver International, we negotiated a reduction in the amount of space and number of gates for which we're responsible. Most supplier contracts have been reviewed and renegotiated, minus any fat. And management has worked hand in hand with our creditors to restructure and reduce payment amounts on our debt.
And as a result, starting in March of 1995, Continental became one of this year's biggest turnaround stories, causing major financial publications to sing its praises. Make reliability a reality. Continental has taken giant steps toward backing up these words with action.
Our management created an operational performance department to eliminate the causes of poor on-time performance, lost baggage, and customer complaints.
The most telling indicator of an airline's performance is on-time arrivals. And the story that 1994 figures told was not yet a consistent one. Continental had the worst performance record in the industry.
It's been hard work, but we have turned things around. We were in last place in March 1994, but by March and April of this year, we were in first for the first time ever in Continental's history. From worst to first. That's a big change, a change that took all of us pulling together as a team.
Another turnaround was in baggage. In 1994, Continental had more mishandled bags than any U.S. airline except TWA. Continental mishandled 6.7 bags per 1,000 passengers carried, more than any other airline.
We've improved our performance, moved up from 9th place to 3rd. Of course, that still leaves room for improvement.
The number of Continental customer complaints filed with the DOT was staggering. Making matters worse, 5 months would pass before unhappy customers heard from Continental, and then all they received was a form letter. That too changed. In fact, now Continental responds within 48 hours.
We have changed, improved, but not as much as we'd like. Nonetheless, we're no longer leading the list in complaints. We're improving, changing for the better. And our new We Care customer service program is routing many complaints directly to us for prompter action.
I wrote Continental, and within just a few days, they responded. I like their attitude and the way they went about making everything right. I don't know what's behind all this change, but I'm 100% for it, whatever it is.
Travelers, even those flying other airlines, couldn't help but notice. Our facilities were looking good.
The walls look better, and it blends better with us, and people are more abundant. I don't know what happened, but we got like double the people that we would have normally had on a Tuesday morning. So it's keeping us pretty busy. I don't know what's going on, but we need to keep it going.
I travel a lot on business, but I'd reached to the point where flying Continental was my last resort. They even looked like last resort. And then I started noticing something. Continental looked different, better. All the old red planes were gone.
And our new consistent look reflects the consistent service we're all trying to deliver. For the first time in over 10 years, all our airplanes look the same with updated blue and gray interiors.
Thank you. Thank you.
Continental management hasn't forgotten us, the employees, and our need for reliability. They haven't forgotten our reliance on Continental. And our on-time performance bonus plan is working. It's working for us, working for the entire company. Any month we rank in the top half with on-time performance, there's additional money in our pay envelope. A $65 on-time bonus check. And in January 1996, we get our longevity increase. In February, we showed everybody, the customers, the travel industry, and management. We showed them all that we could do it. We did it again in March and again in April. The future of Continental was placed squarely in our hands. And we're showing the world that we can deliver a reliable product month after month after month.
Our turnaround is even more impressive when you compare what's happening at Continental with what's happening with our competitors. At Delta and US Air, their management is negotiating for employee concessions. TWA has been forced into bankruptcy, and American has told its employees it won't buy new planes until their wage rates go down and productivity goes up. So while they're losing altitude, we're gaining in every way.
Reliability. We're making it a reality for our customers, our investors, and ourselves.
Working together. That's why and how Continental is going forward. Going forward because Continental has made sweeping changes in corporate culture, moving from a company with minimal employee input to one that welcomes involvement, strives to make being a part of Continental rewarding.
I'm a member of the Policy Initiative Team, a group of volunteer employees including flight crew, ground crew, and management and we've been given the task of completely rewriting Continental's Corporate Policy and Procedures Manual. The very first thing we did was change the name to Corporate Policies and Guidelines, because we didn't think it was right to try and manage 30,000 employees doing different jobs out of one book. I've been here 9 years. This is the very first time the company has shown they really want to work together, get employee input, and actually use it.
So much has changed in such a short time. Big changes. For example, the new open door policy at Continental really works. You have an idea or a complaint, the company wants to hear it. There's some real communication taking place these days, and there are small changes by the dozen. For instance, giving us an 800 number to call anytime we need information about our benefits. The new bulletin boards, upgrading crew equipment, refurbishing attendant workstations, cleaning cockpits more often, and adding casual dress days. By itself, each is a small change, but a lot of small changes add up to a big difference in my attitude.
And is all this working for us? Well, you bet it is. Over the 4th of July weekend, we experienced 2 of the 3 highest load factor days in our company's 61-year history.
The changes in corporate culture have rapidly moved Continental towards a profit. The first half of 1995 marks the only profitable first half in 11 years.
Back in 1988, when I hired in, the profit-sharing program to begin with was always considered to be a bit of a joke, something we actually laughed about in tech ops anyways, over lunch. And then this year we see the fact that possibly at the end of this year with the programs that are set up, that each of us might draw an actual profit-sharing check. And then we see it manifested in other ways also. For example, the $65 on-time bonus when we are in the top 5 ranking. That makes you feel part of the company, part of working with your other departments within this company to make something big happen. And not only that, but I've become part of Continental in another way. I'm a shareholder, not only because Continental Airlines gave me stock, but because I took advantage of their low-cost discount, if you will, purchase program for the employees. And I can tell you that my investment is really doing well at this juncture.
And at the same time, the company will be contributing to our 401k plan and sharing the rapidly rising value of Continental stock with us through our stock purchase plan. On top of all that, we have hands down the best past benefits in the industry. We're benefiting in all these ways because of what we've accomplished working together. That's from worst to first.
One of the best things about actually turning the company around and beginning to see profits are the rewards that each of the employees can begin to receive. You've already benefited from being on time 3 times this year and received the $65 check. We're very, very confident that as we begin to work together again coming through the summer, that you'll be able to get 6 more of those checks if we can pull together and be on time. In addition to that, most employees don't even know that we have a profit-sharing plan, but we do. We have a profit-sharing plan that is exactly the same plan that Southwest Airlines has, which pays 15% of every dollar we make to the employees. So as you begin to see us report second quarter and third quarter profits, you can take 15% times that number, and that is earmarked for each and every one of you.
The Continental team, a team making industry news through one of the most impressive healing processes in aviation history. But will their progress continue? Industry analysts are taking a cautious attitude, warning the public, all these plans don't mean anything if Continental can't sustain either its newfound operational strength or its service component. In the past, many of the airline's problems stemmed from new approaches that petered out after a few quarters.
The biggest change we've seen as a company, though, really lies in the way we work together. Now, we haven't done that in decades or if ever in the past, but we've shown ourselves and the rest of the world that working together as a team is the big difference in Continental today. It's the decided difference of what's different about us today than it was in the past. You take a look around at the top executives in the company and you say, why would 30 of the top executives leave this company? It's because many of them couldn't demonstrate the teamwork necessary to be successful. And that's why it's so important that we continue to work as a team in the future. We can do anything we want to do working together.
Together, we can continue to go forward.
By flying to win.
By funding the future.
By making reliability a reality.
And working together.
The Continental Go Forward plan is a simple plan, a workable plan. The people of Continental have already proven that. Now, the aviation world, the customers, the stockholders, and the rest of the industry are waiting to see if the people of Continental will continue the teamwork that's carried them such a long distance in such a short time.
These meetings are really important to us. I want to tell you something about this meeting that's a little different, besides some high rollers up here talking to you, is that this meeting, unlike maybe a bunch of meetings you've attended, and I don't know how many of you have been around here a lot of years, that unlike other meetings, this meeting is going to talk about some of the things we've actually done. It's not talk about how great the future's going to be. It's not about like all the great, wonderful promises on what we're going to do. We had that meeting back in January, you may recall, when we went out and talked to many of you, or early spring, about this go-forward plan and how we think that we can restore this airline to some integrity and profitability. The numbers that Greg is going to show you, and he's going to come through a whole bunch of numbers for you, and not only they're not all financial numbers, a lot of them are customer satisfaction metrics that the Department of Transportation keeps. These are our actual performance month over month over the last 8 months or 9 months. And also, the financial numbers that you're going to see are not our numbers. These numbers are Securities and Exchange Commission filings that we make that you can go to jail if you lie about the numbers. So the numbers that you see financially are going to be results, not projections, and the operational numbers you're going to see in the customer satisfaction measures from the Department of Transportation are going to be results. That's not been true here in the past. But working together, the biggest change in our company is that we, working together as a team, have done a whole lot. We do have some challenges ahead of us, and I feel real comfortable with the team that we have in place of accomplishing and overcoming these challenges, and I'm going to talk to you about that. So right now we've got Greg Brenneman, who many of you have not met yet. Greg's our strong right arm. He's our Chief Operating Officer. He's going to tell you, and he brings a lot of discipline to us on a daily basis of the business acumen and focus to drive home our numbers, both operationally and financially. I'd like you to welcome Greg Brenneman.
What I'd like to talk about is the go-forward plan. Most of you, as you've looked at this plan and heard about it, and I think everybody just by now can about repeat the 4 points of the go-forward plan. Let's start with Fly to Win. Fly to Win meant 5 or 6 basic things. The first of one was stop flying places that lose money. We started looking at our flying, and we realized that 18% of our flying that we did in Continental's domestic system was cash negative. It wasn't covering the cost of the food, the fuel, the cruise, the aircraft rent. Pretty tough to make money when you do things that are cash negative. But we stopped doing that flying, and we grounded those planes. We grounded the A300 fleet, which was represented by that flying. I'll take you through in a minute what that did for us. It was very painful in many ways for us to do that and actually downsize the workforce, but it's turned us into a very profitable company. The second thing we did was increase ticket prices. I already mentioned that we had some fares as low as $49, $24.50 if you brought your friend along. We've increased ticket prices 28.7% this year. So we had a tremendous increase in ticket prices. For once around here, we started focusing on the revenue side of the equation. The third thing we've done is reward the travel agencies for increased business travelers. Do you know last year in 1994, we told the travel agencies they were too expensive, so we decided not to pay them? Guess what they told us? You can just about imagine. This year over last year, 95 over 94, we're getting $30 to $40 million a month of 31-cent yield. And yield is what it takes, what we receive for flying 1 person 1 mile on our airline. Traffic, 30 to 40 million a month. This year better than last year of the business guy, the 31-cent yield traffic. Just to give you an example or to give you a benchmark, all the other traffic we get on our airline other than this business traffic is about 9-cent yield. So they pay 3 times as much, and we're getting 30 to 40 million a month of increased business traffic. The fourth thing we had to do is probably the hardest thing for any of us in management to do. Gordon and I certainly felt the pains of doing this, but that is take out the costs as we took out the capacity. You can't shut down 18% of your flying December to December without downsizing the workforce. We started the year with just shy of 42,000 members of our company. We're right now between 32,000 and 33,000 members of our company. That's been very painful, I know, for us. I know it's been painful for many of you, but it was the right thing to do to generate some profitability, and I'll talk about that in a second. The fifth thing that we've done this year, and we're going to always focus on this, is eliminating non-value-added cost. That's a buzzword, so let me give you an example of that. We've been so bad financially for the last 10 years, and in fact, if you look at the last time this company made a profit, when it wasn't in bankruptcy, because when you're in bankruptcy you don't have to pay all your bills, it's a little bit easier, it was 1978. So this company hasn't made a profit since 1978. If you went to the bank and you told the bank you hadn't had any salary since 1978, what kind of interest rate do you think they'd charge you when you asked to borrow some money? Pretty high interest rates. And that's what happened to us. I have this fond saying that we've been borrowing from pawn shops, which I think, knowing some of our creditors, isn't far from true. But we actually have a chance now to go in and lower our interest rates. With a $40 stock price, you can do a lot of things in terms of redoing the balance sheet of your company to bring your interest rates down. And we have a really neat chance to do that. In 1995, in the first 6 months of the year, we made $45 million. That's taking out a $30 million one-time gain on the sale of System 1, which you all read about. For the first 6 months of 1994, we lost $167 million. That's a $212 million swing in our profit and loss statement at Continental. Some of our board members are fond of saying, yeah, but the industry's a lot better. That's why you've created that, because the industry's gotten so much better. Listen, the industry was pretty darn good last year. We were just the guys walking around with the guns to our head, adding capacity and pricing markets at $49 each way. So we've improved dramatically. Our revenues are way up. Our costs are up a little bit. Obviously, we've had a $212 million swing in the first 6 months in our P&L. I think you'll continue to see that happening as we go through the third quarter. The third quarter looks real strong. You guys have seen the loads. But net-net, we were still, by the end of the second quarter, running a pre-tax margin, which was last in the industry. And let me explain what this is. Pre-tax margin is simply taking the profits we make over the revenue that we have, which gives you a margin. Southwest, for example, in the second quarter ran a 13.7% pre-tax margin. Delta ran 12.6%, America West 10.3%, all the way down to where American and Continental ourselves were tied at around 5%, 5.2%. We hope and we think that what you'll see when all the carriers report their third quarter numbers is that Continental will continue to climb up this pack. We were in such a big hole, we had so far to go, that by the second quarter of our turnaround, we had caught up dramatically to the industry. But as you can see, we still have a lot of upside in this company and a ways to go to complete the turnaround here. What does Fly to Win mean to me? It means higher pay. It means better job security. The only way to job security is profitability. Profitability equals job security. Don't let anybody kid you and tell you anything different, and that's what we've been able to, I think, do together. We've reduced the management layers in the company. Of the 61 vice presidents that were here last November, 36 of them are now gone. We also, on the management side, and many of you have been affected by this, have taken out about 35% of the management workforce. We started in management and clerical with 5,200 folks. We're now down to about 2,800 folks on the management and clerical side. In doing that, we've taken out a lot of management layers, so we've essentially moved decision-making to the front line. We said if we had a good pricing strategy and we have a good core schedule, and that ought to be our responsibility. After that, we ought to let the inmates run the asylum, and that's Gordon's famous word for actually letting people do what they know how to do best. We've introduced 1-800 service programs between CD and Debbie McCoy. They've been manning, and all their support, they've been manning the 1-800 numbers, where if you're a flight attendant or a pilot or a mechanic or, quite frankly, anybody in the airline and you see an operational problem, you can call in. They're required to get back to you within 48 hours with an answer. We put a safety focus in with on-site medical clinics. Our on-the-job injuries are way down, which is important to us. We've improved crew utilization. What we essentially did on the crew side is we took a look, and CD was instrumental in this. We took a look at the core schedules that were out there for the crew and saw a lot of sit time. There were a lot of times when people would land in Houston and sit for 4 hours. We said if we scheduled a little better, we could reduce that and fly people a little bit more. we could get more flying out of folks, get more hour utilization. It's good for the company, and we could give them more days off, which is good for all of you that fly. We have fewer aircraft and crew changes, less deadhead time. The deadhead time is down to 20% of the level it was exactly 1 year ago. Less sit time, and of course, fly to win means profitability and profit sharing, and we'll come back to that. On the Fund the Future side, we went through a whole bunch of complicated negotiations. I won't bother to take you through that. Let me just tell you what we did. We basically added $250 million worth of cash to 1995, $250 million of cash to 1996, so $500 million total. And then we took our obligations and we spread them out over about a 10-year period. When we came out of bankruptcy, the way the negotiations had worked, they were going to pay back all this debt within 2 to 3 years. It was the same as you paying back your house in 2 to 3 years. Pretty tough to do when you have a house that's going to last you 40 years or 30 years to pay it back in 2 or 3. Pretty tough for us when we have airplanes that last 40 years to pay them back in 2 or 3 years. So we spread that out so we don't have a bullet coming. We now have some real interesting opportunities, which I told you about earlier, which is to go back and refinance our balance sheet and lower our interest rates. We think we're going to be able to take out about $30 million of costs next year just by lowering the interest rates on the debt that we pay. This is what our fleet plan looks like going forward, and I know many of you are very interested in this, so I'll take a second with it. You'll notice on the bottom there in 1994 we had 330 aircraft, 1995 311 aircraft. I think the number one question, at least I hear as I'm out on the system, is a general assumption that we're going to downsize a whole bunch more to get to where we need to be. We actually think that we're about where we need to be right now. And if you see that 311 aircraft, you'll see it growing in 96 and 97 to about 317. That's plus or minus 2 or 3 aircraft. We're still making some decisions. The only addition comes in the area of the 757, which we have at least 1 and maybe up to 4 more 757s coming, and in the area of the DC-10, where we'll take 1 or 2 additional DC-10s. We're going to fly another Houston to London next summer, about 4 days a week on the peak business times. We're going to fly an additional Newark to London, Gatwick route. We're hopeful that we'll get Heathrow, and we're arguing very aggressively, but for sure we'll do that to Gatwick, and that'll be our additional flying. What does Fund the Future mean to me? It means you have the job with the possibility of a career. It means that your payroll check gets cashed every time. It means you work for a healthy company. You work for a winner. And it means profit sharing. And we'll come back and talk about that. The third piece that again, I think is probably the most important thing we've done here is make reliability a reality. That's have a product that is a good, solid product we can all be proud of. We've done a number of things there, and this is such an important area. The goal there is to have a clean, safe, reliable product, to perform in the top 50% of the industry on the key Department of Transportation metrics, the ones they print in the USA Today, on-time, bags, and complaints. And I'll tell you what, the $65 payment to make us on time was probably the best money ever invested. That was Gordon's idea. We completed the new image program on the fleet. The fleet, for the first time in 10 years, the planes are the same inside and out. They look exactly the same. One pilot actually told Gordon, he said, I knew we'd have an airline that's fixed and making money when our fleet was all the same. And I think there's a little bit of truth to that when everything looked the same. We've improved aircraft cleanliness. Dante Marzetta, and I don't know if Dante's here, but he and his team have really done a spectacular job on cleaning the planes. We clean them 3 times more often than we used to. And we actually audit the entire cleaning process, so we try and keep the airplanes clean. And we improved food service. You know what has actually happened to our food budget? Our cost of food has gone up, but the amount of cost to actually prepare the food has gone down because it's a lot simpler product offering. And net-net, we're going to spend the same amount of money. What does make reliability a reality mean to me? It means you get home when you're scheduled. We have less unhappy customers for gate agents and flight attendants, cleaner cockpits and cleaner aircraft, improved operations, more and better food service. It means your job is predictable. What does make reliability a reality mean to me? It means improved ground handling, more time off, better maintenance reliability, and our hats off to the maintenance guys. Do you know their budget's gone from $777 million in 1992 to around $500 million today? And at the same time, their reliability, maintenance dispatch reliability, has gone from worst in the industry to in the top quarter of the industry for every fleet type. It's incredible performance. And of course, make reliability a reality means to me profit sharing. Finally, working together. Working together means to encourage and reward performance, and we hope that you see from the $65 payment to the profit sharing I'm going to talk about, to the snapback on July 1, 1995, just as soon as we could turn a profit, that we've shown that we will encourage and reward performance. It means let people do the job they know without interference. I think many of you know we're kind of tearing up the corporate policies and procedures manual and replacing it with some guidelines that we can all follow that are a lot easier. And most importantly, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about this now because Gordon's going to talk about it, it means treating each other with dignity and respect. For 1996, that's going to be our theme, and Gordon's going to lay that out in a lot of detail. But we really think that we've healed the company financially, that together we've healed the company operationally, and now it's time to heal ourselves. In 1995, working together, we've stabilized the company. We're a top performer in on-time and baggage mishandlings. Customer complaints have been cut by 2/3. The second quarter brought the largest profit in Continental's 61-year history, but I'll remind you that our pre-tax earnings were still the smallest in the industry. I have one more interesting statistic I'd like to share with you guys. When we started this process, our revenue per seat mile was 78% of the industry. So if the industry got $1, we got 78 cents for flying a person a mile. Now if the industry gets $1, we get 99.2 cents. Pretty big swing in our company. The stock price has increased 500%. Ned cannot keep up with this slide. We're almost up to 700% now since he produced this just a week ago. And the market capitalization of the company has increased, and it's now actually closer to $1.4, $1.5 billion in market value. So again, together we've created about $1.2 billion of value this year in the room. We're actually working to share that now. The most common sort of flaw in people's thinking that we see as we walk around the system is most people don't believe that we have a profit-sharing plan here. We actually have Southwest profit-sharing plan. I have to remind people that in order to have profit-sharing, you have to have a profit. Just to sort of review where we're going to be at this year in terms of profit-sharing. In 1994, we lost $650 million. We did not allocate that loss to the employees, so there was no profit-sharing. In 1995, Gordon and I put up a budget at the beginning of the year that was a $45 million net income budget. I'll tell you what, the board of directors thought we had just come from the opium den or something. They thought, how in the world are you going to do that? But they felt just fine about holding our feet to the fire, so they took the budget. The employee share of that would have been $6.75 million. We started the year with roughly 40,000 employees. Of course, we wouldn't have made $45 million had we not downsized our costs to match our revenues. That would have meant profit sharing at various salary levels. If you made $15,000, you would have got $72, $25,000 around $121, and $40,000 around $190. We think we're going to do better than make $45 million this year. In fact, if you saw for the first 6 months of the year, we'd made $45 million. So as you see us report third quarter profits, and I don't think that, you remember the second quarter was a record profit in Continental's 61-year history. I don't think you'll see that record last long. And then as we go into the third quarter, we should make somewhere between 100 and 150 million. I think you can kind of stare towards the right-hand side of that without getting thrown in jail here, but that's probably a reasonable number. People assume, by the way, that we can predict the profit to the nearest penny. But you can see we don't have any history to base our predictions off of, which makes it kind of tough. And then we're getting 30 to 40 million of additional business traffic a month, and I shared that with you earlier. The problem with that is they don't book until the last minute. So we usually go into every month in an abject panic, and then we end up beating our predictions, but we can't predict all that reliably. So 100 to 150 million. We think employee share of that would be 22.5 million of the 150. Have about 33,000 employees roughly. That means if you make $15,000, you get $280, $25,000, $450, and $40,000 around $750. Those are rough numbers, but wanted to give you a sense of what it would mean to you. What we've tried to do as we perform better is actually to pay better, and these are some average numbers, and not everybody's at the average. By definition, probably nobody is, but we wanted to give you the average numbers in terms of how pay has increased. If you made $15,000 last year, you got $65 on-time bonus times, we think 9 if we keep operating well the rest of the year. That would be $585. Profit sharing, as we just showed, would be $280. The snapback on average, again, was about $1,500. The 401k match, if we're profitable and you put money in your 401k, we match it up to $300. And longevity increase, the longevity snapback of July 1 was $750. You get to a total of $18,450 roughly. That's a 23% increase. And I know most people don't add it up that way till you add it all up and think about it, so we wanted to communicate that. If you made $25,000 on average, that increase will be 15%. And if you made $40,000, if you're a high roller, your increase is 6%. As your pay goes up, the increase as a percent goes down because a lot of the payments, like the on-time payment, are the same for everyone. What does working together mean to me? It means a $65 on-time performance bonus. We paid it in February, March, April, July. I think you can probably safely add August to that list. Longevity snapback on July 1, 1995. Trying to be fair there. We didn't think we'd be able to do that till January 1. It means coming to work is more fun. As I said at the beginning, isn't it fun to work for a successful company? It sure beats the alternative. It means you have a career, not a job. It means your stock is more valuable. How many of you purchased stock sort of during this run-up in the stock price? A number of you did. Gordon and I certainly purchased some stock, so we always say, they say at breakfast, you're either the pig or the chicken. You're either involved or you're committed. We're definitely committed here with you guys.
What's coming next year that we don't do this year is a couple of things, and one of them I want to put up is this fuel tax. And that's the fuel tax that starts at the end of this month. It's 4.3 cents per gallon. So we're going to spend them out, same number of gallons, flying the same number of miles next year, but our fuel bill will be up $50 million. The employee costs that you see up there are a composite of one. We've settled with our pilots. We need to settle with everybody. We need to treat and pay each one of you fairly in 1996. And fairly will be something we can debate because it's always debatable what's fair. But nevertheless, each employee group, whether they're management or non-management, unionized or non-unionized, is going to have their wages addressed in 1996. And we need to expect that, and we need to put that in our budget because we know we're going to spend that money, and that's about $40 million. Now, I don't know about your rent, but I don't know of any rents that ever go down, okay? Most rents go up, and so our airplane and our facility rentals have a programmed increase that we can believe is going to cost us about $30 million more next year in rent than we paid this year. Now, if you recall, a couple of months ago, Southwest announced they're moving into Florida. Now, that's not the end of the world, but it does deplete our yields on traffic, like, say, coming from Cleveland nonstop to Tampa, when now they're going to do Cleveland-Nashville and then Nashville-Tampa, and those fares will be less than we charge. And we'll have to compete with people bleeding off our higher yield traffic, or we'll have to decrease our revenue or our yield to match this threat. That's a very conservative number. When it's all said and all done, you can take that and add it up. It's $145 million. Hell, that's all we made this year, if we're lucky enough to make that. And I don't want to get ahead of ourselves because it's still September. Okay, but we are, in fact, going to have to come up with different ways to cut the non-value-added costs or increase revenues. And I hope that you have some ideas. Now, let me just tell you a couple of things, because here's what always happens in big change. And we've had a lot of changes in this company. You always step on somebody's toes. You can never change a company as radically as we've changed this without stepping on toes. And systematically, we're going to go through this company. Everywhere we don't add value, everywhere we're spending money we don't need to spend, and we're going to have to work this. I have a lot of confidence in our team's ability to do this through increased revenues, focusing our product, optimizing our markets, pricing right, as well as decreasing non-value-added costs. The kind of cost that Greg talked about is interest rates and those kind of things. So between us, all of us chickens here, are going to have this challenge for 1996, and I think we're up to it. The bigger challenge, and Greg mentioned, and I wanted to talk about, is, as I said, if you looked at the numbers that Greg put up there, we do have a company that works. You can't be at the top of every one of those DOT metrics and not be a really good company. The competition aren't slouches. We're beating the best people in the business, and on time and bags and complaints. We're doing all the things that a good airline ought to do. You can't knock making $100 million when you hadn't made a nickel in 10 years, right? You can't beat a company that's pumping out that kind of money. So you fix the company financially because we can make a profit. And we fixed it operationally because we know how to be a good airline. But what we need to fix is us. And it's hard. And I'm not being critical, but it's been a lot of years, like you said, of playing gladiators on the 24th floor, and Frank would pick a president and then hire somebody to knock him off, or leveraging our employees and jerking people around. It is the culture of this company that you treat the person that you're sitting next to poorly. On average, we do. And we've got to stop that. And this is not me talking about management treating you better, or maybe you treating me better. This is like treating the person next to you better. I don't know what the metric is. I know the same as we set a goal to be profitable and be on time in 95, if we set this goal, we can do this too. Now, if we do this in 1996, and we run this company in 1996 the way we run it in 1995, from the day one, this time we don't have to spool up like we did in 95, we can in fact be a very, very profitable, very professional, on-time company, and we can be the best airline to work at in the United States. Now, we can do that if we choose to do it. So that's my commitment to you. And one more thing before I take some questions here is back, as Greg mentioned earlier on 2 months ago, Mr. Pena came. There's not every day a big shot like that comes down, and I would say that I feel real proud about you, so you'd expect me to say glowing words about our company. All parents love their children the best and think they're the brightest. But when Mr. Pena, who sees all the airlines and deals with people as much as he does, comes in and looks at us and talks to us in the way that he has in this film, I think it's important to share it with you.
Congratulations to you, Gordon, for turning this extraordinary company around, and congratulations to all of you for being a part of this great turnaround of Continental Airlines. Give yourselves a round of applause. Well done. When I learned that your last quarter profits were the largest in the history of Continental Airlines, that had to be a great bit of news for all of you. So great job. Well done. On behalf of the President, on behalf of myself, I want to congratulate you for the great job you have done, and to say that the entire country is proud of the fact that Continental is back again in a very strong position, the turnaround story of the airline industry. Congratulations to all of you. Job well done. I just visited the facility, where I talked to some of the mechanics, and we're very proud of their work, and I want to congratulate you for your high commitment to safety. Give yourselves a round of applause there also. Job well done. But I think that by working together, we'll continue to make the entire airline industry more profitable, more competitive, and obviously Continental continue to be one of the finest airlines in the world. So I wanted to be here today to congratulate you, to say job well done, to personally congratulate your leader. I sense the energy and the excitement that he brings to this entire operation, and the kind of rapport he has with all of you. That's something we need in more of our corporate leadership across this country, and I applaud him and I salute him and his entire team. I've met many of them today. But most of all, I want to congratulate each and every one of you for doing a great job, for working so hard, and for bringing this new vitality and excitement back to Continental Airlines. Congratulations and job well done. Thank you very much.
Also beefing up its flight schedule in Tampa in an effort to fly back to the future.
A bit of the past helps usher in Continental's future.
Hello, welcome aboard.
Once the workhorse of the airline industry in the 40s, today this DC-3 propelled dignitaries over Tampa Bay.
It's 32 acres. Condo seats are together.
Meantime, regular folks lined up for the first day of Continental's new flights and new low peanuts fares.
The fares were reduced. I figure being a Bunny Scotsman, what I saved paid for the rental car.
The short hops and quick turnarounds to cities like Fort Lauderdale and Jacksonville are designed to keep planes in the air and making money.
We want the traveler that has not flown before, the businessman that has driven rather than fly because of pricing.
Continental hopes its flights will help keep it competitive, and it is a bumpy economic ride for airlines right now. U.S. Air just announcing it intends to eliminate 2,500 jobs in order to streamline. And no one knows how turbulent the industry is right now, more than the workers themselves. That's one reason this Continental pilot is in on his day off, volunteering, helping out wherever he can.
I want to help out, and I want to do my part to make sure it works.
Back when this DC-3 was hauling passengers regularly, managers could only imagine the challenges the airline industry faces today. But a return to the short-hop point-to-point system of the past may help keep Continental flying in the future. Catherine Bursch, 44 News at 10, Tampa Bay.
Oh, that's a beautiful sight. Along with those 19 additional flights, Continental has also added 30 more positions at the airport. And still ahead...